frankly, what did we expect from the judgment today? For me, what mattered was not who got it. For me, what mattered were two things. A, there should be a closure. This case has cost so much to India, so many lives, so much of ill will. It should be brought to a closure. And two, there should be no victors and no vanquished. Today's judgment more or less tries to do that. Now, in any such thing, you can always point out that this particular way is not correct. I would be lying if I say I'm very happy with the compromise that they have attempted. But it is a compromise. And I would urge and request, let's accept it. Even if we are not happy, let's accept it and now go on. Let us accept it as a closure of all such cases. Let this country not be occupied with these things. Let's look at the other real things that this country must face. The demolition of Babri Masjid in 1992 took place in violation of every norm, every law, Supreme Court order. And the fact is that that kind of dominance has been accepted by the courts. That's not the best thing. There is a discrepancy, someone might say. We have to read the entire judgment. But on first view, it seemed that when the Supreme Court was laying down principles and when it gives the operational judgment, they don't quite seem to fit with one another. But one has to see the entire judgment and see. So on the one hand, Supreme Court says the demolition was unjust, against rule of law. It says title cannot be obtained by mere faith. And it says that we cannot go merely by historical archaeological evidence. But finally, the court does give a judgment which seems to favor that kind of reading. I do believe, however, and I have said it repeatedly, that secular politics also needs to amend itself. A very simple-minded, knee-jerk opposition to all these things that you mentioned, Uniform Civil Code, I think should be accepted and welcomed by secular people. NRC has a problem, technical problem, but it is a technical problem, not the principle or the idea itself. And even a possible act about restricting conversions, one should look at that with an open mind. The one thing which is anathema for this country would be Citizenship Amendment Bill, because that would be introducing a two-nation theory in this country. That a Citizenship Amendment Bill would go against the very idea of India. That must be opposed to thin nail. In one sense, having achieved its objective of temple construction, BJP may have extinguished one of the cards that it has been playing now for 2 or 3 decades. The BJP will now need to look for something other than that, which is good news for the country. The longer this issue festered, that was bad news for our politics. As for Congress, frankly, they haven't had a coherent understanding of this issue. Right from 1986, after all, we forget that it was under Rajiv Gandhi's regime that first time the doors were opened and the entire dispute took the turn that it did. Congress had no coherent strategy at the time of demolition of Babri Mosque. Congress has had no real thinking that it can place before the country for the last 25 years after the demolition. You have to connect to public opinion. You have to persuade the public that some of the fundamental tenets of constitution and law are worth respecting. If you fail to do that, then mere court or law cannot defend you. This is one of the sad lessons, but it calls for a serious rethinking of secular politics in our country.